What's up, you guys? It's Jonno! Welcome to another episode of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Today I'm going to do another of my perfect build guides. This time we're doing Cinderace. Of course, you guys know I hatched a shiny Score Bunny long time ago, and I built it into the perfect Cinderace for raids, and I'm going to show you how to do that for yourself right now. Okay, so as we get into it, let's go ahead and look at this perfect Cinderace. I'm going to show you what we're building so you can decide if you want to build it or not. I am utilizing the Choice Band held item. I'll explain that in a bit. I'm also using the Libero ability, which you will need an ability patch for, so make sure you've got one. And of course, I've got the maximum attack. Some people might think that you would do special attack on Cinderace. However, it does have the best moves for attack, so we are maxing out attack. And let's go ahead and dive right into it. Of course, I've got a Score Bunny here. I need to get it evolved into a Cinderace. I don't think anybody needs a tutorial on this process. Obviously, I'm just using lots of XP candies. So while we get this evolved, I will talk a little bit about the pros and cons of this build. One of the major pros of this build is you can change types on Cinderace depending on what type you need for different raids. So you can get 4 different types of Pokemon, 4 different types of raids. And as you well know, I have a lot of different types of Pokemon for different types of raids, so you really need to have an army of Pokemon with different type advantages for different raids. And of course, this Cinderace is going to cover 4 slots now. It's going to be Poison, Steel, and Fire type. And we got a little fighting type mixed in there as well. So 4 very good type advantages for this Cinderace. The big disadvantage though is that you can only use one move at a time. That's due to the Choice Band. However, it does increase your attack significantly. So it's super worth it. Just keep in mind that if your move is disabled for some reason, you won't be able to attack because since you can't use the other attacks, you'll struggle. And I'll show that later in the video. It's a really big deal that if your one attack that you can use gets disabled, that you don't continue to use it because you will struggle and faint yourself. It's the one disadvantage. I think that there's certain Pokemon that will use disable on you and they can disable your move. And if you find yourself in that situation, all you can really do is cheer until you faint or until the disable goes away. All right, so those are the major pros and cons, and we've got this Cinderace evolved now. So let's go ahead and get into the actual build. We're going to use protein to raise the attack. We're going to use the HP up to raise the HP. That's fairly obvious. You want to make sure that you don't use all of the proteins to raise your attack because it is a little bit wasteful to do it that way. So make sure you do the last little bit of attack that you have left using muscle feathers. You can do the math on that. It's 252 per EV. So you know that you can use 25 of the larger items. And then for the last 2, you want to use feathers because obviously you don't want to waste a whole large item on 2 EVs when you can just use 2 feathers. And those large items are expensive. So make sure you save some money and do 25 of the large item and then 2 of the feathers. If you have over 250 of one type of feather, you could also use the feathers and not even touch your large items, and that would save you a lot of money. All right, so we got our EVs done. Just keep in mind that you might need to use berries to lower your EVs before you can raise them back up. If you were already using this Pokemon and it has EVs in the wrong area, then you will have to use those berries. I won't do a whole video about that, so let's go ahead and move on. Next, we're going to use the Adamant Mint because we are going to be a physical attacker. This is going to raise our physical attack and lower our special attack, which is what we want. After that, we're going to use the ability patch. As you can see, I have a lot of ability patches. I got those from 7-star raids by farming them. The 6-star raids also have a chance to drop ability patches as well, so you can farm those. Make sure you change over to Libero. So now we're about halfway done. We've got the Adamant Nature. We've got Libero for our ability. We've got our attack maximized and our HP maximized for our EVs. We've got High Jump Kick, which we need. We've got Pyro Ball, which we need. We still need to get 2 other moves. We still need to raise our IVs, and we still need to get the Choice Band held item. So we're going to go and do all of those right now. But so far on this build, we are looking pretty good. We just got a few more steps. Our next step is going to be to head over to Montanavera and talk with the IVs guy. This is the IV guy right here. He does hyper training. We're going to hyper train all of our stats except for special attack, which we don't need. This will cost you some bottle caps, and if you're wondering how I got so many bottle caps, once again, it's from farming raids. You really do want to be farming raids as much as possible, especially those 6-star raids, because they drop herbas, they drop bottle caps, they drop ability patches, they drop XP candies, they drop everything you need in the game, and you also want to farm the 7-star raids because they drop a lot of the berries that lower your EVs. They also drop the items that raise your EVs, the expensive ones, in big bundles, so you can really save a lot of money by farming those raids, and you can get a lot of money by farming those raids as well. Next, we're going to head over to Delibird Presents. This is where we're going to buy our held item. We're looking for the choice band item, which you can see is one of the most expensive items in the entire store. That's because it does such a good job for your Pokemon. It is one of the best items in the game. You can see this curious headband boosts the holder's attack stat, but only allows the use of a single move. It actually boosts that attack stat quite a bit to where it's one of the most powerful items in the game. So go ahead and give that item to your Cinderace. Now, the downside is, like I said earlier, you can only use one move, but in this case, because we have Libero, once you use that one move, you will turn into that type. So essentially, you'll be that type with a stab bonus, which is same type attack bonus, which means you get a bonus on using the same type of move as your Pokemon's type is. And since you're changing your type, then you'll get stab on whatever move you use. So it's a really advantageous build that we're putting together here. You just have to watch out, because if your move gets disabled, then you won't be able to use it, and you can't use the other moves, which will force you to struggle. If you're not familiar with what struggle means, it's a move that you use when you run out of all other moves, and it does deal a severe amount of damage to yourself. Some people have lost a shiny Pokemon to struggle because it went on for too long in the battle and eventually ran out of moves and struggled and beat itself up. That's really sad. So in this case, you would be beating yourself up with your own Pokemon, and you wouldn't want that to happen. Now, I will say that is extremely rare. It barely ever happens, but it definitely can happen during Tera raids. So just watch out for that one scenario. If you do get your move disabled, stop attacking and start cheering. And if you cheer all your cheers and you run out of cheers, then you're just going to struggle and knock yourself out. But once you come back, you can change types, you can use a different move, and you won't be disabled, so you won't find yourself in that position a second time, hopefully. All right, so moving on, we are going to get our moves. We do want to get Iron Head. That's going to be our steel type move, and it allows us to change into the steel type. So imagine we're going to have a steel type Cinderace. That's pretty cool. And the other move that we got is Gunk Shot. So these are all physical attacks. These are the best physical attacks that are available, and they're all different types of attacks. So you now have 4 different types of Pokemon that you can be based off of these 4 different moves. So this is a really, really interesting build. I put it together myself. I'm probably not the first one to ever do this, but I definitely think it was interesting, and it took me a lot of thought process to put it together. And then I tested it in raids, and I tested and tested and tested because I wanted to make sure this was actually a decent build. Unlike my Charizard build, which I got really roasted for. People said it was not a very good build, and that's true because Charizard just isn't very good for raids. I wanted to do something with that Charizard, but I didn't think it would be very good, and people definitely roasted me and told me it wasn't good. However, this Cinderace is super good, you guys. I use it in raids all the time. I always win. It's super, super good. I definitely stand by this Cinderace build. The last step we need to do here is use the PP up. We're going to go ahead and raise our moves to their maximum because we don't have very many moves. Some of these moves only have a few, like 5, so we can raise that up to a maximum of 8. You can use 3 PP ups on every single move and get those maxed out. And there we go, you guys. We have our perfect Cinderace build for raids. I'm super proud of this thing. I've been using it in raids like crazy, and it really does perform well. It's a very strong attacker. You don't have to give it any boosts or bonuses during the battle. It's definitely ready to go right out of the box, just the way we built it right here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it extremely useful and informative. I want to say thank you to all of my amazing subscribers. Please smack that like button before you go. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and peace.